Even though I personally prefer traditional multi-layer painting, I cannot deny the incredible importance of using the Alla Prima technique in the process of developing artistic skills. My name is Nick, this is my art channel, and today we will talk about why you should definitely use the Alla Prima technique from time to time. Before we begin and dive into today's topic, let's take a look at what's on my palette today. I have burnt sienna, a yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, cadmium red medium, and of course titanium white. I'll add a few more colors later if necessary. Today, I decided to paint a small seascape with a classic old sailing boat. I once noticed this scene in a painting I happened to see, and it somehow stuck in my memory. I thought about it from time to time, and I really wanted to recreate this image on canvas. And today, finally, the day has come when I will fulfill this long-held desire. To be honest, painting in Alla Prima technique is always a challenge for me. I feel much calmer and more confident when working in the multi-layer painting method, when at each stage of the work I only have to solve one task on which I can fully concentrate. By the way, there is a video on my channel about the work and algorithm of the old masters, so you can watch it if you are interested. But when we paint Alla Prima, we have to think about the drawing, the composition, the color, the tonal relationships, the light, and many other things at the same time. And to be honest, it scares me a little. It scares me because it's very easy to get lost in all these different tasks and not be able to handle any of them. And that's exactly why, precisely because I'm afraid and I don't feel confident, I force myself to work in this technique from time to time. Because only by overcoming difficulties you can become better. Only by overcoming difficulties you can achieve some success. So I pull myself together, take my paints and brushes, prepare the canvas, and start painting. Painting through fear and doubt, painting to move myself forward and develop my artistic skills. Anyway, returning to our topic, what is Alla Prima and how does it differ from the multi-layer painting method? Alla Prima involves applying premixed colors directly to the canvas. No underpainting, no optical blending, nothing. Just the direct application of paint to the canvas. At first glance, this task may indeed seem extremely difficult, and as I admitted earlier, it scares me. However, there are a few simple recommendations that I have developed for myself which significantly help to overcome fear. But before I share them with you, let me say a few words about the color solutions I use to create this sky on a sunny day with light cloud color. The thing is, a friend of mine often criticizes me for not giving enough direct recommendations in my videos. Well, let's try to fix that. Max, this is especially for you. Enjoy. But jokes aside. Anyway, here is a list of colors that I usually use to depict this type of sky. Ultramarine blue or cobalt blue, titanium white, yellow ochre, medium cadmium red, and burnt sienna. You may find this choice of colors a little bit strange. You may ask, Nick, where have you seen cadmium red or burnt sienna in a blue sky? Well, I will try to answer that. To create the sky itself, I use ultramarine or cobalt blue mixed with titanium white. And by the way, don't forget that the sky is always darker at the top than it is closer to the horizon, which creates an aerial perspective. Since the horizon is farther away from us, everything closer to it will always be dimmer than what is closer to us. Remember about it. For the light part of the clouds I use white, but not in its pure form, but with the addition of yellow ochre. This adds some realism, since in nature, pure white practically doesn't exist. It always takes on the shade of its surroundings. In this case, the light part of the clouds catches the sun's rays and takes on a slightly yellowish tint. But for the shadow part, we need red and burnt sienna. First of all, I mix ultramarine blue with a drop of red to get a kind of purplish hue, and then I add a little bit of burnt sienna to slightly neutralize the purple and make it more calm and grayish. And now let's get back to our tips. So, tip number 1. It may sound really trivial, but make your first stroke. It's the hardest part, believe me. It's always very difficult to get started, and I think everyone experiences the fear of the blank canvas. Don't be afraid. Experiment. You are not fulfilling an order from the Pope to paint a fresco in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. You are just doing a simple sketch. Less responsibility. And that brings us to tip number 2. Paint small. Use small canvases. They are much easier to work with, trust me. For example, I am painting this Seascape on a 6x9 inch canvas, which is relatively small. Tip number 3. Start big and work your way down, not the other way around. Don't get obsessed with details. Don't make this common mistake. This leads us to tip number 4. Use large brushes, especially at the beginning of your work. In the early stages, you need to fill the space on the canvas, outline the general shapes, and determine the color spots. Switch to a smaller brush only when you start working on the details at the very end. Tip number 5. Spend more time mixing colors. In percentage terms, spend about, let's say, 70% of your time mixing your paints and only 30% applying them to the canvas. The amount of time spent mixing colors should dramatically exceed the amount of time spent actually painting. And finally, the last tip for today. Think before you do anything. Think before each stroke. Don't rush. Alla Prima requires constant attention and concentration. Well, that's basically it. I hope today's video has helped you at least a little. I hope that perhaps it will inspire you to pick up your brushes today, squeeze out some paints, and do this wonderful and useful exercise. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, as usual. I am always very happy to answer them. You can also support me by subscribing to my channel, of course, if you want. Anyway, thank you for your attention. I wish you all the best and see you in the next video. Bye!